I'll pry the boards off with my crowbar.
And this time there's no movement or activity from beneath the door.
Not today, Ancient Evil.
Do you want to keep that sword, Adrex?
I'm
fine with the dagger.
Right.
I mean, we have extra short swords.
But this
We have a
one
lot
is-
of extra short swords. I don't think we have that many silvered weapons.
Well, I know,
Yeah,
but I'm
we
saying
don't.
you could take a regular short sword.
I am a silvered weapon. And he holds up his fists.
His coin fists.
I'll high five
Do you
that.
Dragonborn have 3 or 4 fingers? Or 4 or 5 fingers?
They have as many as they want.
So do we strike a torch and look down in there?
If somebody opens the door and looks down, sure.
Oh, and it was filled with gas.
Yeah, Red will open it and take a look down. He doesn't need a torch.
You see gas.
Looking down into darkness, the first thing that strikes you is the smell of, for the first time, this overwhelming smell of death and decay. Looking around, there is a large amount of broken furniture that looks like it's been thrown haphazardly down here. You see some busted chairs, part of a broken desk. You see a lot of soiled kitchen implements piled up in one corner, overturned pots and things. The floor of the cellar, looking down, it's a short, like, wooden staircase leading down to the floor, but it's a soil floor. The jello-ish, not really soil, making up the floor instead of having wooden planks. On one of the walls of the cellar, you see what looks like a char-black skeleton lashed to the wall. You're not sure just from looking down the cellar how it's affixed to the wall, but it's hanging there. In the center of the room, you see large gashes slashed with some kind of blade into the floor itself. Similar to what Birdie was doing with his shovel earlier, but instead of removing material, it just looks like it's been slashed through. And it looks like it might make some kind of pattern. And in the center of this pattern is the source of this decaying odor. A small body lays there.
Raazu is going to use her divine sense again. As she looks down in there, starts sniffing the
Get
air.
out of your way.
You hit that Paladin light switch again, and nothing. It's a grisly scene, but no more sense of undead.
I think whatever fell presence was here, we destroyed when we destroyed those smoke monsters.
Or it's in the ground. Think about that.
Well, I mean,
And I'll hop down into the hole.
Okay. You can't really hop down into the hole, but you can climb down the stairs.
Yeah, alright.
I mean, you could hop down onto the stair.
Yeah, I'm hopping into something.
All right, you hop down the stairs.
Yeah. I mean, I basically hop when I move anyway. I do that little bird walk.
Right. And yeah, the scene is just like I described to Red. There is some kind of decaying body in the center of the room, slashes through the ground of the floor around this body, broken and soiled furniture in one end, and then the skeleton affixed to the wall, kind of overlooking the whole scene.
Birdie grabs Adrex, grabs his sleeve and pulls him down, and then asks him for a piggyback ride so he can see the whole, all of the symbols carved in the ground.
Didn't you close the door in my face?
Twice.
No, once. The second time it was, who was it?
My
It
face.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, clearly it matters to
Climb
somebody.
So what's next? As you guys go down into the stairway.
Guess we head down.
And it doesn't sound like this. It's just a cellar, right? It's not huge.
It's about the size of maybe the main room of the house.
Okay. Well, yeah, then Red will go down too.
Yep.
It looks like at one time it might have been used for storage, but a lot of that material has been pushed to the side to make room for this grisly scene on the ground.
Do we have a light source down here?
I've got my dim light torch out.
Somebody struck a
Like-
torch. I think Adrex struck a torch too.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that happened. So yeah, you can
Okay.
see pretty well down here.
I'm gonna mark that.
What is
Look up-
what is the
how's-
symbol carved in the ground?
Make an Arcana check.
Oh boy, this is my favorite kind of checks. Okay, so that is a 15 plus 9, so 24.
24. Guess what I get to load in now?
Tablet.
Perfectly circular clearing.
Oh man, I should have used that for the lake scene. And you guys,
Womp womp.
what might have been, huh?
What? Yeah, coulda, woulda, shoulda. Google Doodle.
Okay, so what you see is this multicolored text that reads Google with a weird looking bar underneath it.
Nice.
Sure. Okay.
What could it mean?
It takes you a few moments because you're not looking at like something drawn in charcoal or like a tattoo or even in blood. It's just gashes through the material that the ground is made out of. And
I don't.
because of your familiarity with these runes now, you eventually identify it. And it takes you a minute because some of these symbols are ones I don't think you've ever seen before. But you manage
but,
to
like-
piece together what it looks like. So I'll move this to the side and y'all can take your screenshots or whatever. But yeah, so in
See,
the
this-
it's taking up most of the bulk of the room, and then in the center of it, so taking up maybe this little center mass here, is this curled up, decaying body.
Reminds me of the way that the hangman did his thing. You know, like he strung up that orc's corpse and then just dug it into the ground with his heel.
A little
I
bit,
love-
yeah. He dug it in the dirt with his boot heel. This looks like it was slashed through the ground with a knife, but no material has actually been removed. So it actually takes Birdie a good long while to actually trace out where all the lines are. What's everybody else doing?
Raazu is looking at the form that is kind of lashed to the wall.
Holding Birdie.
Looking at the
You're-
bones lashed to the wall. Well, I mean, you'd have to put Birdie down on the ground so we could examine this.
Okay.
He's not doing that from your back.
Aw.
Looking at the skeleton lashed to the wall. For a minute, you're like, who would hang up like a charbroiled skeleton? This poor guy was burned to death, but then you realize it's not actually bone. It's made of the same kind of material as the stuff Adrex found in the man's pocket. It looks almost metallic, but when you touch it, it doesn't feel like any kind of metal. And then you realize it's not a skeleton at all. It's a piece of artwork. Arranged to look like a skeleton, but each piece of it, when you look at it, looks like it'll come off separately. Each individual piece is kind of lashed to the wall on tiny hooks.
Ooh, grab a femur. We can use it as a club.
Grab
What?
a femur.
What's
Just
Red
a
and Windy
quick
doing?
femur?
Yeah, don't order me around.
Don't order me around. Nobody ever
Red
listens.
will rummage through the pile of broken furniture and whatnot, see if there's anything noteworthy in there.
Make an intelligence investigation.
That'd be a 11.
11. It looks like the contents of this house, a lot of the furniture and tools and implements and things, were just very quickly and very haphazardly thrown into this pile. The only thing of note you actually find is what looks like a torn, very just loosely bound journal. Like just a very hastily bound series of parchments. But the thing is virtually unreadable. It's been slashed to ribbons, and it looks like it was blood-soaked at one point, but the blood has now had time to dry. So you've got this just stack of maybe 4 or 5 pieces of parchment lashed together that has been discarded here.
This place sucks.
Yeah, but it would be decent shelter to camp out for the night.
What's Wendy doing down here?
I'm trying to remember. Was there something else down here? I think everyone's looking at everything.
And everything has been looked at least once, yes. Raazu is
Yeah.
examining the skeleton that turned out to not be a skeleton. Birdie is examining the sigil on the floor. Adrex is picking his nose. And Red is examining the pile of detritus in the
Whatever.
corner.
Nobody's
examined the body yet.
Yeah, I'll look over the body.
Oh,
No.
well,
It's horrible.
Adrex would examine the body.
Yeah, Adrex, make a medicine check.
Medicine check.
Wendy, you go to examine the body, but Adrex beats you to it. And he's better at it anyway.
Oh.
That is not the wrong window. That is a 13.
13.
He's not better at it than me.
The creature laying here is a child, but you can tell by its musculature that it's badly deformed. It has like twisted spine and a hunchback. Its limbs are not the same size. This thing must have lived a life of pain. And you can see easily how it's died. It has long gouge marks on each of its arms running from its wrist up to the inside of its elbow. And it's been laying here long enough to start decomposing.
That's not good.
I mean, if you had to put an age to it, couldn't be older than, if we're talking human years, which I'm not sure if Adrex ever met a human, but maybe 5-6 years old.
Yeah, I'd say we go back upstairs and camp out.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of like give the whole place a once over. Essentially, Wendy's trying to figure out like if there's any remnants of that smoke down here. Like if there's anything to say where that smoke was.
Make an Arcana check.
You got it. 18.
18. You're pretty sure the dead body and the weird sigil and all the blood has something to do with it.
Well, yeah, Brick Road. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'd say we secure the door. We could secure the doors upstairs and have a pretty safe place to bed down.
But no, there's
I
no
know we
more
have a
smoke, and the intense chill in the air is also gone. Raazu, what are you just gonna leave your good friend the skeleton all alone down here?
I mean,
Raazu has no desire to take any chunk of this, I guess, artwork? Question mark?
Birdie's taking a femur.
All right,
You pull
that's
out a
you,
femur
man.
down, and as soon as you take this femur off the wall, and it's big and heavy for Birdie, but as soon as you take it down off the wall, you realize that it's not all one piece. The femur itself looked like it was hanging from this little hook. When you get it off, you realize that it'll come apart. It feels like it'll slide apart.
Like a puzzle?
No, just like a one object having slid into another one, like maybe like an
Okay.
SD card sliding out of the slot.
Well, okay, I'll open it and slide it apart.
And you work it for a few minutes, and you realize that if you depress part of the back of the material, it slides out, and you realize now you're holding a scimitar in one hand and its scabbard in the other.
Ha
Oh, now that's got Raazu intrigued.
Yeah, you can have the creepy skeleton cursed scimitar. That's all you.
This thing definitely looks very macabre, even after you the femur off the wall. It still looks like a human femur, just there's a scimitar hidden inside.
Well, I mean, now I've got to check the other femur, right? So I just kind of casually drop the scimitar on the ground. Don't even put it back in the thing and go pull down the other femur.
And it's another scimitar. Same exact make.
What about the rest of the bones?
What do you pull down?
An arm.
So while they're doing this, Red will say, "Hey, Birdie, give me your shovel,"
I give him my shovel.
and I'll scoop up the child's corpse and head up the stairs.
What
Okay.
did you do with the journal, Red?
Oh, I just left it there because I couldn't make anything out of it.
All right.
Oh, I mean, I'll look at the journal then. Since these weapons are obviously too big for me anyway.
I mean, you could use this scimitar. I think scimitar
I
is
don't
even a
so much
finesse
want
weapon.
the weapons as just to figure out what the hell.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Bear with me just 1 second. I accidentally closed my notes while I was trying to open my other page of notes.
GG, Brick Road.
So I'm sorry. I'm just. What do you want from me?
For you to be better, to do better.
Be better. Be best.
Wendy, you take down one of the arms, and as you do, you realize that the lower part of the arm, at the wrist, is very sturdy, like a handle, and the upper part actually swings open and is bladed on the inside and can be used as a sickle.
What's the skull do?
Yeah, I was thinking.
At first, it's weird because the spine is attached to the wall on its own on a hook, and the skull is as well. But the two are kind of attached to each other. But after working for a second, you realize you slide part of the back half of the spine out, and the skull is very heavy and very hard. Functions as a mace.
What the hell?
How about the spine itself, or is that like the handle for the mace?
Part of the spine is the handle for this mace. The rest of it, when you pull it down, being trained in a lot of different types of weapons, Raazu, you could get a good swing out of this spine. It would work really well as a club. But make me a investigation check.
This ain't too good. Anyone want to help me with this? Because I don't really have.
I mean, I'm down here trying to figure out this shit with you.
Can I do that at advantage? Because I only have +0 to this.
Wait, you're asking for advantage, like pity
Well, my help
advantage?
action.
Like I feel bad, so I should get no.
This is a help action break.
That's a 10.
A 10?
Yeah.
There's something weird about the handle, but you're not sure what. Red, what are you doing outside here?
Digging 3 small graves if the ground will allow it.
Okay.
Wendy, maybe you can figure this out. Pass it to Wendy. That's fine.
Red, make a
take a look at
nature check.
Sorry, I didn't hear what type of check.
A nature check.
That's intelligence, right?
Intelligence nature will work.
I think
great.
Red's better at denaturing.
That'd be a 16.
It's not soil, so it's not going to be burial in the typical sense. But having walked through this forest, any nutriment that you put into the ground here will eventually just be absorbed back into and create other fungus.
Okay, so I'll mostly just try and make it so that I can get a respectful covering over the body. I mean,
Okay.
I figure the child isn't very big, and what's left of those other two, I mean, I could almost just... Sounds like you'd almost just pour those down a little hole.
So yeah, you spent some time and get 3 graves going here. So let me just run down the list here. Well, what else did you do with the spine before I go down the list?
Can I look it over?
Sure, make that same check.
Yeah. That's an 18.
At first, it looks like the spine, like to your eyes, like you could hold it from either side and club somebody. But Raazu shows you the proper form is to hold it at this angle. This is intended to be the handle. And when she shows you that, you see part of the handle, when you grip it, has a secret latch on it, or something that depresses, similar to pulling the scimitar out of its bone. And when you do that, the whole spine, all the vertebrae kind of come apart. But they don't clatter to the ground. They're collected together by some kind of filament. This spine can be used as a club or a whip.
Oh, I'm taking that shit.
That
I
is
got a
so
whip.
yours. That is so yours.
Going over the rest of the wall here, there are... Each of the feet come apart into a sling, and the toe bones each count as a sling bullet. The 2 arms fold out into sickles. The 5 fingers on each hand can be used as crossbow bolts. Each of the femurs is a scimitar. Each of the tibias, the other part of the leg, is a short sword. The pelvis comes apart as a boomerang. And the rib cage comes apart as a series of 6 stilettos. Very dark and macabre looking weaponry made out of this unidentified material that's neither metal nor wood nor stone. Nobody's helping Red Berry people?
No.
Boomerang.
I mean, Red's basically doing what Wendy would have done, so...
Ross is going to pick up that journal and if she's going to make any heads or tails of writing in it.
You recognize the few bits of text you can read in it as being written in Undercommon, but none of it is legible. The thing has been completely torn apart. Looks almost like it was deliberately torn apart. And then it's been soaked through all the pages with blood.
When you say completely illegible, is that like there is no way ever to read this, even if we had a million years, or is that you're not going to read this in this basement?
I'm not going to say never, because there's a lot of magic in the world.
But like without magic, it's just not going to happen.
Probably.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to stow it for now, and then...
Okay, so Raazu's taking the journal. Is anybody taking any of these weapons or anything else from the pile?
Oh, I'm taking that whip.
Okay.
I'll take the pelvic boomerang because that's hilarious.
Okay. Oh,
What's the damage on a boomerang?
I actually don't know if they're in the PHB.
They're not. I'm looking at it now.
I know that there's one in the Princes of the Apocalypse book.
Like a whip does 1d6 damage when I'm using it.
Is stiletto just a boomerang that can't be, or just a dagger that can't be thrown?
Yeah.
So, and I'll take 2 of the stilettos.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll grab 2 stilettos in that case and just stash them in my pack.
Boomerang had the same damage as my throwing hammers in my campaign that I just... So yeah, 1d4 bludgeoning. And then there's a mechanic where it comes back to you. You have to push the A button at the right time or something.
So there's a pair of scimitars. There's a pair of short swords. Ugh. I don't know, man.
Do what makes you happy, but
This is some macabre shit.
it's not actually made out of bone.
You're reasonably sure it's not actually made out of somebody's bones. Yes, it's definitely not bone.
It just looks weird as fuck.
I mean, that just, in my mind, that just leaves glass or, I think it was it, bone and glass were the 2 materials I was thinking this could be.
It couldn't
Magic shit.
Not glass either. You couldn't make a mace head out of glass. Well, You
Yeah.
could. It'd be good for exactly 1 hit.
It'd be good in Morrowind.
Why is this?
And this place is pretty Morrowind.
Yeah, I guess
A
that's
little
true.
bit, yeah. A little bit, yeah.
Like this thing was a.
So what's next? Are you guys hunkering down here? I mean, you guys at this point, you've been marching more than a day and haven't had anything to eat.
Yeah, that's why I was suggesting we do that.
Let's have a rest, yeah.
So you're locking all the doors?
The only other thing I wanted to do before we rest is get with Birdie and try and figure out the orientation of this place compared to Poolward. See if we can... And Red will actually take out some parchment and start scribbling down a map.
Okay.
Try and figure out if we can figure out which way Poolward is. Just the relative positions and the directions that they face, not actually any sort of scale or anything.
You left the fizzy pool, heading fake north.
Uh-huh.
Forward.
So this direction coming in on this path must be fake northeast, because you veered slightly from Poolward to follow this path.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So everybody roll me percentile dice.
So, Brick, just to be clear, because you asked if we're locking the doors,
Mhm.
Windy feels safer sleeping on the roof.
On the roof?
So that's what Windy's doing.
Okay. Sleeping in the shadow of one of the great caps.
Mm-hmm.
Adrex, let's get your percentile first.
Oh,
Chill.
wait.
To remind you, your previous roll was an 83.
54.
Raazu, what do you have? Your previous
68.
roll was a 35. Plus 68.
Addition? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Birdie, your roll was a 17.
Plus 97.
Wow. All right. Red, your roll was only a 4.
Plus 43.
Windy, you also had a 4.
7?
Even in his roles, he's bullshit. It's amazing.
Adrex, Raazu, and Birdie.
Hmm.
When you guys sit down in the house, everybody's there but Windy. Windy's up on the roof. You start unpacking your things. Foraging has been impossible so far, and you're going back to fall back on your dry rations. but they are inedible. Looking in them, they're covered in spores. There are tiny fruits and caps starting to poke out of them at all angles.
Ew.
Red, about half of your food is ruined.
Mm-hmm.
Windy, only a small amount of yours is. You're up on the roof. You cut away the bad portion and just toss it.
So I just mark off half my rations.
Unless you want to try eating the ones that the spores are growing in.
No, but I will separate them and put them in a separate part of my pack.
Okay, so Adrex, Raazu, and Birdie, your rations are totally ruined. You can still try to eat them if you want.
No, thank you.
Red
Yeah, that's the
has
thing
half
to do
of
after you're
his,
telling me that they're ruined.
and problem is you got to eat something, or else you do not get the benefits of your long rest.
So
and you'll
hold
take
on one second
exhaustion.
here. I have 5 days of rations left in that case, so I can split those.
Okay,
So there's 3 of us who need to eat.
4, because Adrex, Raazu, and Birdie have to throw away
Yeah,
all of theirs.
So that would put me down to 1 day of trail rations if the 4 of us eat.
I have a thing. Oh no, that just helps us forage. Never mind.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
We'll
It
pick
won't
up
in
some
this
more
case.
experience down here. You'll figure it out.
You can still go out and manually forage, as in go out and actually make the roll. It's just you can't do it automatically. And Windy, yeah, you cut apart just a part of your rations. Not enough to have to actually do anything mechanically about it.
All right, so I'll just slip it off, and I'll assume that everyone else is in the same situation as me.
Okay.
If Wendy's sleeping on the roof, I also won't lock the door I'm resting next to.
Okay. Yeah, you guys can go ahead in that case, take the benefit of the long rest,
Oh.
throw all your rations away.
Before we go to bed, I would like to tinker with this. See if I can.
For future reference,
Yeah.
I do have a background feature that says you have excellent memory for maps and geography. You can always recall the general layout of terrain, settlements, and other features around you.
Okay. Then yeah,
Just
you
for
have,
future reference.
you have a good sense when you look over the map that Red scrawled that that's a good sense of where you've actually traveled today, having gotten your
Like,
bearings.
Can't find food and fresh water. That's if the land offers it.
Which it might.
It might. It might.
So what is Birdie doing with the...
Actually, I would rather tinker with the gun, the harpoon gun.
Okay, make an intelligence check.
Oh, were you here, Adrex, when we fixed up your healer's kit?
Yeah,
We did at the very end of last session. I just wanted to make sure you marked that down.
I did. I think I did.
Sorry.
A 14.
14. You're pretty sure you figured out the workings of this harpoon gun. The way it works is you'll make a ranged weapon attack with it. It does damage as a javelin, and if you hit, it impales the target and essentially grapples them. They can't move out of the range of the rope. It's good for about 30 or 40 feet. There's a separate mechanism that will retract the rope and coil it back up. The idea being one of these kobolds was going to try to impale Windy and reel her in, but that wasn't going to work because they're kobolds. So instead, he would have reeled himself into Windy's threat range. But unfortunately,
Wendy was flying.
I never had the chance to. But yeah, if you hit something with this, it'll reduce their fly speed to 0, but not their regular speed. They can still move on the ground, but they don't have the agility to fly around anymore.
I've got all these items that reduce flight speed to 0.
When you fire it, it takes an entire action in order to retract it.
Okay.
So you can launch it one round and then retract it the second round. This is why they had a bunch of these specialist harpoonists instead of just all carrying one.
I'm starting to feel like you're planning for something.
Nodal and or Destil. How many charges of my healer's kit did I get back?
You're at 10 out of 10.
I am at 10 out of 10. Alright, cool.
Yes.
Okay.
We rolled, like, really good.
Thank
Wendy,
you.
make a perception check.
Alright. This is why I feel safer on the roof. Whoops! Except that's a 8.
Okay.
Hey, Brick.
Yeah.
Can I do my normal poison gathering during the long rest?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You guys can all take your normal long rest actions if you want.
Nice. And I have the rest of that.
Yeah,
Ding.
I'll add a bit more. Wish I'd rolled that for the perception, but such is life in the zone.
Wendy, what languages do you speak?
I speak Pixie, and the rest of them I need to get from my character details. Aarakocra, Orin, Common, and Primordial.
Okay. Make me an intelligence check. I'm gonna make you roll this at disadvantage.
Okay. Yeah, not bad. 11.
11. What does Wendy do with her weapons when she's asleep?
I clean them off and then I store them by my body.
Okay.
Like basically everything's mostly still strapped to me.
Okay. When you wake up in the middle of the night, on the roof, alone, in the silence,
Yeah.
there's something like rain falling. You feel a cold, light drizzle, but it's not water. It's like spores falling from the great cap above you. Looking out over the rest of the roof, you see this thin film, and it's clinging, a bit like snowfall. The other two things you are immediately aware of. First, you usually strap your weapons to your body.
Yeah.
The weapons are gone. The straps have been cut. It's a long sword, long bow, bone, spine, whip thing. You can see the streaking down the side of the roof where they must have slid off. The third thing you're aware of is the cold feel of metal. There's a knife held to the inside of your neck. And you hear a woman from behind you who's holding this knife whisper something in a language you don't know. But you pick out a word. Kiaransili. And you're not really sure what this word is, but you've heard it before when River Leaper was talking about traveling to this place. You're pretty sure it refers to some kind of religious figure in the Underdark.
Okay.
So you've been asked a question in a language you don't understand that contained that word.
And so, okay. I'm going to speak slowly to give myself more time to think. And then I'm going to try to... Can I try to key point disengage and then roll off this roof?
You can, but we'll be rolling initiative if you're going to go that way.
I mean, that's fine. I don't understand what the hell I've just been asked.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and roll initiative. Gotta beat a 15.
The rest of us, or are we still asleep?
You all are still asleep. Inside.
That's an 11.
An 11. Make it a post-strength check.
Alright. Not gonna have to roll high on this one, Brick.
It's okay, I didn't.
8?
Oh, I got a 12.
Yeah, there you go.
You try to slip away from this, but this woman's arm comes around your chest and holds you fast. And you hear the question repeated. It's in a different language this time. This time you recognize the language as Elven, but the word Kiaransili does not change.
Alright. I'm going to... I guess reply back... Yeah, I'm going to die. I'm going to reply back in Primordial, because it seems like something that at least somebody might know.
Okay.
And I'm just going to say I don't know what you're asking.
What are the chances this NPC, whose name is Melvin Ponce, by the way,
Nice.
what are the
I knew it.
chances
Melvin
Melvin
Ponce
Ponce
is Dross
knows
Slayer.
Primordial?
I knew Melvin Ponce was a Drow Slayer.
The third time the question's asked, she asks in Orin.
Oh, fantastic.
I rolled 98 on that Primordial roll, and I was like, okay, well,
And I'll sigh. No, so what was the question this time?
She's asking whether or not you... She's asking why you and your companions are seeking the fortress of Kiaran-Seeli.
Okay, Brick. I know it's gonna make you really upset when I ask this question.
Yeah.
I don't remember why we're doing that.
We had this 4-hour-long scene with River Leaper.
Yeah.
No, the priestess who River Leaper told you a story about, with
Yeah.
this room filled with spellstones, this was essentially her goddess. This is some kind of Underdark deity. This would be your destination.
And I'll tell her that we seek to trade knowledge.
You'll feel movement behind you. And then you see an extended arm pointing out towards the yard, pointing at the dead topiary pigs
Yeah.
out near the path. And she asks again in Orin. She says, "How did you learn to slay demons this way?"
And I tell her that I traveled for a time in the Feywild and had to adapt in order to be able to damage things there.
As soon as you mentioned traveling the Feywild, you feel the metal of the blade go slack. She slowly pulls her arm back. She whispers, "Gather your companion and your thralls." And then very swiftly, this figure slides down the roof and falls off in the same direction your weapons have just slipped away, leaving you alone in the silence once again.
And I'll think to myself, God, it's so hard to remake those straps. She could have just unstrapped it.
Now you gotta just carry everything in your hands all the time.
And I'll hop down, because which one did the red leave open? This door? I'll open up this door.
I'll ask,
And,
which one did you leave unlocked, Red?
The one next to me.
Okay.
I'll head inside and wake up Red. And Raazu, I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They seem like the most level-headed members of the party.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of just give them the quick rundown of what just happened. And I'll say, Red, real quick, it seems like you might know this. Which of you would be the thralls? This seems like a you question.
Probably the Kobold, maybe Raazu. Hobgoblins.
Raazu looks a little offended.
Hey, hobgoblins are pretty common in fighting pits. I'm offended by it too. Don't believe me.
No, I don't like being. I don't like being regarded as a slave. Yeah, no.
Raazu, don't worry. I'm pretty sure there's just one of them because they took the effort to cut my weapons away. So, you don't have to pretend to be anything you don't feel comfortable with. But I would like to get that sweet wit back. If at all possible.
I'll give Adrex and Birdie... I'll let you wake up if you want to, since this conversation is now drifted way off course.
Oh no, as soon as we get to that part, I'm gonna wake them up.
Okay.
Did all of Wendy's weapons get taken, or
Unless she concealed any, which she said she didn't. She straps them to her body. So I'm
No, I
imagining
strapped them to me. I want them
longsword
close,
and
I don't
longbow
necessarily
strapped to the
conceal
back, her quiver, the spine, and what else do you carry? There's one other thing, isn't there?
Yeah, I carry 10 darts. I don't know why. I think just because I started with them.
it was starting equipment? Yeah.
The classic starting equipment.
That's like-
Liberation had
They're
darts.
completely useless to me because I can't... they're not monk weapons. I don't know why monks start with a non-monk weapon.
It's like you failed as a monk when your turn comes around and you're like, I guess I can throw a dart.
Hey.
Liberation threw a lot of
Hey.
darts. Anyway, so yeah, Wendy wakes you guys up. She tells you what all's transpired.
I think the most important thing we have to do is make sure that Birdie is a thrall.
Like,
Birdie is a thrall.
Birdie narrows his eyes and stares at Adrex.
It's important that we keep the charade going for the sake of Windy.
I'm picturing him like mailing in a VHS tape, like a like an application to like thrall makeover on the
I don't
learning
know,
channel.
But Wendy's like, wait, Birdie, I thought you were a thrall to that dragon?
No, I'm reminded of an animated show where a mind flayer is taking applicants for thralls.
So what's next? How long do you leave this person waiting?
Oh, I mean, just as long as it takes to get our stuff together.
Well-
I think this is our best chance to find out some information here.
I was under
Yeah.
the impression that this was like a Sorkin-esque walk and talk.
Sure. We could do
And then I'll
that.
head back outside, and I'll just make a quick glance to just, like, maybe they just let them slide off the roof, and they're not carrying my weapons now?
No, I mean, you see the figure over here under one of the smaller mushroom caps, and she's knelt down on the ground, and you see she's got 2 daggers, one in each hand.
Yeah.
Clearly a dark elf. She has very ashen gray skin, stark white hair, and she's wearing black leathers and big and thick boots where you see more daggers sheathed therein. In front of her in a neat pile you see your weapons. She's very clearly hunched over them. She's coiled up like a cat. She's ready to pounce at the first sight of hostility. How do you guys emerge from the house and engage her? She's only about 10 feet away or so from this. From the
Raazu
flowers.
steps out first.
Okay.
I mean, you'd have to run past me. I'm just popping out. Like, I went in and came back out.
Okay. And had a 5-minute conversation.
And had a 5-minute conversation.
So Raazu and
And-
Wendy come out first, and Birdie's behind
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll go over and I'll assume she wants to know where I got them. So I'll just start, like, explaining where each of the weapons came from. I'm like, that one came from the building right there.
And she cuts you off very rudely as you start talking about shit she doesn't care about.
You're still in the house.
Oh, they
Nodal.
just moved me out. I'm on the house, actually, because I was on the roof.
As you guys emerge, she watches Wendy and Raazu very closely. Making eye contact. Very, like, fierce and deliberate eye contact with each of you. Wendy starts talking about, hey, you know, I was at the swap meet and they had this really sweet orcish longsword, and she cuts you off. And then
Yeah.
she very briskly asks you, again in Orin, what is your interest in the fortress?
And I tell her that we had an encounter with somebody who had a stone from the fortress, and we've encountered these symbols elsewhere, and we want to learn as much about them as we can.
She casts a sideward glance at the other 3 standing next to you, and then back at Wendy and Raazu. Says, there are no humans or dwarves in your number.
And Wendy shakes her head. She says, we don't have much dealings with the Southlings.
She seems confused at the term Southling. She doesn't know what you mean.
And I'll explain to her that, like, those tens of people live across this big wall. It's Game of Thrones style wall.
It's made of stone, not ice, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it's
darn.
big as hell.
It's pretty big. It's
But-
all right.
But she is a Game of Thrones fan.
She asks, and this questioning is happening rapid fire. You don't have any time to translate for the people standing next to you.
Yeah, that's fine.
She asks you, or rather, she clarifies that you were not sent by the Wemmicks.
And Wendy shakes her head. And says, I actually don't recognize the term you're speaking of.
She nods at Raazu. She says, and how did you and your companion cross paths? Clearly, you're not of the same tribe or stock.
And I tell her that we work together to free a village that was being ransacked by, what were they? Orcs?
Orcs.
Yeah.
Yeah, orcs.
Then she nods over at the other three and says, "Your chattel, where did you purchase them?"
Nice, Red. You made chattel status. And I'll
The
tell
flea
her
market.
actually that their usefulness is such that we didn't purchase them. They were full members of our group. And I'll tell her, like, they've been taken lightly by others to their misfortune.
Adrex wants at that precise moment shoves a finger up his nose. Man, there's just this booger there that he can't get out.
Not even understanding the conversation. It's just the world's
No.
worst coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll look over, I'll say, they're very deceptive that way.
You can tell that the woman does not like that answer. There's a weird culture gap here. But you can see that she's attempting to navigate around it.
Sure.
She sheathes her daggers one at a time at her side and stands up so that she's no longer hunched over your weaponry. She's probably a little shorter than Red, but well, I don't know. I was about to say a much more feminine build, but I don't know how feminine Red's build is, so...
Red's pretty androgynous.
It looks like she probably has a very similar skill set to Red. I'll put it that way.
Red has 2 penises.
Oh, she has 3.
I was good.
They're not
I was gonna
hers.
say
She
good
took
at
them off of other
languages.
drow. She keeps
Oh,
them in a
God.
bag. She
Oh,
tells
God.
you, and she doesn't ask. She doesn't make a request. She tells you,
Yeah.
as though this is something you're delighted to hear.
Yeah.
She says, "I believe I may have use for you."
And I'll nod, I'll say, how can we help you?
She tells you that the Wemmicks have... Real quick.
Yeah.
Would any of the other 4 of you know what Wemmicks are? Because this isn't an Orin word.
I don't know actually what a
I
Wimmick
don't know
is.
what
Sawyer doesn't know either.
Destil, don't disappoint me.
Sorry, a what?
A Wemmick?
I don't think so.
Oh, man. Okay, that's fine. This one particular word is weird. It's like when somebody's telling you an English sentence with an obviously foreign word stuck in the middle of it. You can pick it out very easily.
Sure.
It's like every English sentence.
Like Deutschmark.
Guacamole.
Or arigato, or guacamole. Or
Sorry, I'm
senpai.
sorry.
There's so many borrowed words in English. Are you kidding me?
She
Yeah, they're
tells
pretty
you
much all...
that the Wemmicks have spoiled some of her recent plans. That she's looking for a decent amount of muscle in order to swing things back into her favor. And the way she watched you deal with the demons holed up in this place, she thinks she can make use of you, of your
Are
strength.
the Wemmicks a type of demon?
She tells you the Wemmicks are menfolk. They bear the sigil of Wemmicks on their banners. Humans and dwarves.
And I'll say they're probably invading.
And her eyes get real narrow, and she gets a sour look on her face. And she says, "Always."
That's why we built a wall.
That's funny.
She tells you that you and your thralls, soft from the sunlit lands, that you would never make it to the fortress without a guide. She can provide this service.
And in exchange,
In exchange, you'll help her as the muscle she needs.
So to be clear with her, because this seems like the sort of situation where suddenly we're stuck here for a year.
Right.
Is this one sortie she has a problem with? Is this a she wants us to guard?
Make an
Like what?
insight check.
All right. Is she going to take whatever she can get away
We've
with?
established that none of you guys have had dealings with Drow. Is that correct?
Birdie
Yeah,
has actually seen Drow. That's where he learned Uncommon.
You've seen them?
'Cause the-
Okay.
Yeah, he's seen them, but like he didn't have any direct, just kind of like with the dragon and all that.
Okay.
Red's actually done 2 or 3 slave exchanges for drow. That's how he learned how to make drow poison.
That's an 18.
Okay. Then Red, you can't understand what's being spoken. She and Wendy are conversing in Orin of all fucking things. What strikes you as odd over the course of this exchange is she is alone.
Yep,
She
Yep.
has, when you've done exchanges in the past, you worked with nobility. You worked with people of status. She's wearing black leathers, boots and whatnot. She has no distinguishing features as like what noble house she might be part of or serve. And the poise she's taken and the story that Wendy told you, she must be in exile. And in Drow society, the 3 worst things you can be in order are a man, a slave, then an exile. In that order. Wendy, talking to her, she is doing an excellent job of hiding how afraid she is. She's not afraid of you. You're not exactly sure what she's afraid of.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, she needs somebody who has a lot of experience killing monsters, because she can't do it.
All right, yeah, this definitely seems like something that we would help with. And since it seems like she's like terrified and wants a thing killed, and not this is her tricky way of getting us to agree to something that we're not like, Wendy will say, "Yeah, we can help you with that."
And at that, she puts her boot into the ground, which has a very thin layer of this film on it now, and she nudges your weapons back towards you.
I'll pick them up and do my best to tie off.
Your friends are standing next to you looking very confused, except for Red,
Yeah.
who... What's on Red's face right now? Probably nothing.
Red
right?
is doing his best job to make his face unreadable.
Stoic and stone-faced. Okay.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and take our break. We'll take 15 minutes here. So McDohl can get another cup of his gourmet best coffee in the universe.
Yep.
Yeah,
Don't forget, it's going to be extended break from me. So
Okay, so let's come back in about 20 minutes.
All right.
Reconvene at 5:20. See you guys now.